In this lecture, we're going to take a deeper dive into configuration management and how you can automate changes to networking devices. The three main configuration management solutions that you should be aware of are Ansible, Chef, and Puppet. These options aren't tied to one specific vendor like DNAC with Cisco. You can use these products to automate any network device that's capable. So Cisco devices, of course, but also things like Palo Alto firewalls or even VM environments. The three main differences between these products are how they connect to devices and their text format. So Ansible is going to use SSH connections to log in and automate devices. And then it uses YAML files for creating automation templates. It's considered to be agentless because unlike Chef and Puppet, it doesn't have an actual software program that needs to be installed on the devices it's automating, since it's just using a SSH connection. Chef uses TCP port 10,002 and Ruby DSL. It's considered to be agent-based because it does require that an agent is installed on your device. And then Puppet, which is also agent-based, uses TCP port 8140 and Puppet DSL for its text format. I'd say as a network engineer, Ansible is probably the more commonly used solution. One huge benefit is it's very simple to get spun up in a lab, and you could download and get it running for free right on your laptop. If you want to set up Ansible in a lab or on your computer, you can go to their website, and within their documentation, you can find their installation guides. As you can see, you can install it on Linux and even Mac OS. The most common option would probably be to install it on Ubuntu Linux, which is how I have mine running on my computer. And then, of course, for you Mac users, you have the Mac OS option. If you're a Windows guy like me, you can either download Ubuntu right from the Microsoft Store and run it as an application. And then you would download Ansible right to your Ubuntu instance. Or your second option would be to install Ubuntu as a VM and then run Ansible on that Ubuntu VM. I like the Ubuntu application option that's available in the Microsoft Store because I don't have to mess with running a VM software like VirtualBox or VMware Workstation. I can simply launch the Ubuntu application, and that gives me quick access to a Linux terminal or Ansible. And then, of course, Mac OS. So these options are great if you have real gear to automate. If you don't, you can actually also go the GNS3 route, where you would just install your Ubuntu VM right in GNS3 and then run Ansible from there. Make sure to check out the resources for this lecture, where I included links to instructions on how to set up these options. Once you have Ansible installed, you can do things like run show commands against multiple devices. So here I'm going to have Ansible log into all of my hosts that I defined in this SDA lab group and run this show command and send the output back to our window here. And don't forget that Ansible uses SSH, so I'm giving it a user account that it can use for that login. And then I'm also using the Linux grep option to only display these two values out of the returned output. So I'll hit enter, put in my SSH password, Alright, it's done. I was able to verify the MTU values on all of my lab devices. So that's just a quick and dirty way to run show commands on your devices. If I wanted to, I could actually also redirect that output to a file. Okay, so it's done. So if I navigate to my show output directory and view that file. There's all that information. So I could have just as easily did just show run and backed up the configurations on all these devices and sent it to a file. So I like to use it to run show commands on multiple devices to verify things, for configuration backups, and you can even use it to make configuration changes, which you could do with something called a Playbook, which is basically a configuration script that you can reuse to automate changes to your devices. So a great use case would be, let's say that we wanted to change the NTP server configuration for our entire environment. We could use a Playbook to remove the IP of the old server and then add the new one. So let's do that. I'll create a playbook called ntp-playbook.yml since it uses YAML. I actually already have a playbook script ready to go, so I'm going to paste it in here. So this is basically launching a CLI connection to the IPs in this hosts group that I created. And then it's going to run these iOS configuration lines, which is adding my new NTP server IP information and then removing the old one. So before I run this, let's confirm what the existing NTP server configuration looks like on these devices. So I'll run show run on all of them, looking for the NTP keyword. Alright, so you can see our current server IP is 192.168.14.1. After running this playbook, that server IP should be gone, and we should only have our new one. So I'll run our playbook. We call the ntp-playbook. And then I'm going to define the user account that I want Ansible to use for logging into these devices. And then I'll have it prompt me for a password. Alright, it looks like it successfully executed. So again, we'll look at our NTP configurations. And now the new NTP server IP is in the configuration and the old one is gone. So there's just some good examples of how you can use a configuration management tool like Ansible. As far as the exam goes, you're not expected to know how to use these solutions. I just wanted to show you what you could do with them. I would just focus on remembering what options we have. So Ansible, Chef, and Puppet, and then the differences between them.